Hello, Motorsport fans. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notifications, and like this video so we can keep the channel going. And good morning, Frank Yu, founder of CraftBambooRacing. It's great to see you. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you
Ah,
for having me, Ben.
no problems. Thanks for being on here. Yeah, the Asia motorsport industry has been very quiet, and I think the last time we saw each other must have been 2019 at Sepang. It's been a while.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a while. Yeah.
But I've got to start off by bringing up your Craft Bamboo Racing success in the recent Bathurst 12 hours. I mean,
Yeah.
that was an amazing strategy. You came from last position. There was a complete engine change, and you finished second overall, only 8.7 seconds behind the winner.
Yeah.
Can you talk us through that amazing weekend?
Well, actually, during the race, at the beginning of the race, I had no idea what was going on because the team, obviously, I wasn't there, and the team had come up with the strategy, which is absolutely amazing. And there was something wrong with the engine the day before. And despite all the efforts the factory uh, provided, they suggested that there could be a problem potentially in a 12-hour race. So they asked us to do an engine change. And because of that, um, we lost the entire, I believe it was Friday, qualifying and all the practices because the car obviously had to be trucked over to a remote location at a workshop to have the engine changed because we didn't have the equipment on site. That's another problem with COVID because a lot of the equipment we just couldn't. It was impossible to get the logistics perfect. Now, having said that, we had to start from the very end of the back of the grid. And so from the first hour, when we first saw light, uh, I believe it was like 4 o'clock in the morning in Hong Kong. And I started seeing them heading into the pit all the time when you shouldn't be. So I was messaging. I didn't want to disturb anyone or anything. So I was messaging the team and said, "What the hell are you guys doing?" And they said it's a strategy. So they were busy, and then so after Maro got out of the car, they started to explain to me what is happening, and I thought it was brilliant because with the regulations, we were able to do all the strategy is basically to do all the mandatory pit stops where you have a time limit, minimum time requirement. You do that all up front.
Oh, okay.
So after that, all the pit stops we would gain 40 seconds each time against our competitors, and that's huge. So I believe it's 40 seconds. Don't quote me, but it could be even more than that.
Wow.
Because with the tire change and the driver change and fueling and everything, it could be a big gain. So we did that, but it wasn't perfect. As you can see, the first pit stop that we did, we were, I think, 0.1 second short. So we had to come in again with the penalty. Otherwise, we would have gained so massively. And everyone was scratching their heads, like, "What are these guys doing?" Soon as after the safety car, when it turns green, we come in again. So, um, but then I think a few of the teams caught on. So we were able to do this, 6 or 7 times, and then other teams started catching on, and they started doing the same thing. But by that time, it was like, done and dusted. We were, I think we were back. We were in the lead for quite a while.
How many
But then
pits
again,
did you guys have?
I
It was like
I
some crazy amount, right?
I think it was like 20 something.
Wow.
At the end, it was like 20. I think it was like close to 20. Unbelievable. And actually, we would have won the race if it weren't for the last safety car.
Oh,
Because at the end, there was another Mercedes who had had an accident, and it brought out the safety car in the last hour, hour and a half, hour and a bit, and it was then that the winning car, which is another Merc, benefited from pitting under safety.
right.
But when we pitted the last time, it was under green. So, and that's how we lost the race. Otherwise, it would have been a perfect weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it was a brave run, but it turned out, because I think, yeah, I remember reading it was,
Mm.
yeah, it was an abnormal amount of pit stops for a 12-hour race.
Yeah.
But how, uh, talking about your personal involvement in motorsport, how you're a very successful architect based in Hong Kong. How did you get started in motorsport, and how did you find, or how did you found Craft Bamboo Racing Team?
All right. I was just a normal little boy, and loved cars, and um, I I started getting into, well, my first taste of motorsport was when I was going to junior high school. Well, I believe I was grade 7 or I was grade 8 or something like that. My neighbor's father had built a go kart from his garage, and we lived on a cul-de-sac. So it was a dead end, and every now and then he would bring out the go kart with his kid, my neighbor, and we would just put the little ice cream cones and 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 do our own little track. Uh, and that's when I sort of fell in love with driving. Um, and after a couple of years doing that, the father, again my neighbor, would take us on to go kart races, like the local ones, uh, and we would do race weekends and stuff like that. And that's when I fell in love with the sport. So, like most people, I started out with karting.
Mm.
But as far as the team is concerned, but then I have to go to college, and then started with my career.
Mm.
So that all stopped for a while. But I still attended track days and watched some races here and there. But it wasn't until I was close to 20 years ago, when the career is more settled, and I'm more settled and have the financial means. And that's when I started picking up racing again.
Right.
Started out with track days, of course. I remember uh, it was Paul Yao's event, Supercar Club, and we all went to Sepang. And a friend of mine and I, we invested together in a Ferrari 360, a track car. And so we took that car out for a few days, and I remember coming back on a plane. I ordered the 430, the challenge car.
Right.
And back in those days, there weren't any GT3s yet. The
Uh-huh.
GT3s would come a couple of years later. So we would get these challenge cars, which is already met certain safety standards with a roll cage, and this is for racing.
Uh,
And we will modify them ourselves, with a local garage or some garage in Europe, some outfit in Europe. And we order the car, and then it will come back race ready. And that's when I started racing. Now, uh, um, so I did that for a few years. Fell in love with the sport, and I remember going to started doing more and more races outside of Asia. I remember it was one year when I went to Dubai and did the 24-hour race and ended up on the podium. And it was that moment when I said, "Oh, why can't an Asia team uh, compete in the international uh, uh, motorsport? Why can't we participate?" It was then when I started building up that team, and so from that point forward, it's just building and building and building and building. I remember it. Um, the One of the milestone was that we became the technical partner for Aston Martin Racing, and that's when we first got factory support. We did a lot of races uh, with the factory, with factory drivers like Darren Turner, Stefan Muka, who was my teammate back then, Stefan, in GT Asia. And it was from that point forward, we started uh, taking off as a team. And then we switched to Porsche. We were with Porsche for 3 years as a factory technical partner, and now with Mercedes since after that, and AMG. So that was in a nutshell our path.
Yeah, why the changes from, like you said, you started off with Aston and then you moved to Porsche and now you're with Mercedes. Is that from are those decisions from a racing aspect or purely a business opportunity that you see moving to
Uh,
Mercedes?
it's both. It's both. Uh, because we are a commercial team. We are very good with taking care of our sponsors, and that's why you see us carrying uh, different sponsors with us almost uh, every other event. Um, Now, Aston Martin was a very good car. The car it's still one of my favorites, if not the favorite. The V12 is just amazing.
Yeah.
Uh, so the car is unbelievable. But Aston Martin as a company, it's still a very small manufacturer. So the platform they can provide is quite limited. They have done their best, but it's limited. So when we approach bigger sponsors, um, uh, you can't compare a smaller manufacturer versus someone like Mercedes. Mercedes is huge, right?
Yeah.
So it's the car's performance that's, of course, we have to consider, and also the platform of uh, of the manufacturer who can provide, like Porsche. They have from Carrera Cup to GT4 to GT3 to LMB. The platform is huge, and that's why because after a few years with Aston, we have established a certain name for ourselves. So we needed a bigger platform uh, for our sponsors. And then the switch to Mercedes is similar. The platform is just as big, and the car is very, very good. I mean, the car is 5 years old now, and it's still winning races. So yeah, so basically, these are the kind of decisions that we have to take in consideration.
And that Aston Martin looked fantastic with the Gulf oil wrapping on it as well. It
Yeah,
was your team that brought back those iconic colors and logo to GT racing.
yeah, it's worth mentioning that actually I believe outside of Japan, that I haven't checked, but we were the first team out of Asia to compete a full season in WEC, in WEC. It was 2015 in the
Right.
Aston. Yeah. with Daryl O'Young, Fernando Rees, and Alex McDowell.
What actually? Speaking of Daryl O'Young, because he's part of the Craft Bamboo Racing team.
Yeah.
Uh, why wasn't he in the race seat at Bathurst?
Well, you first you can run the company, but you don't have to. You don't have to be in the seat, in the driver's seat, right? But for Bathurst, our car was the only factory car
Oh,
for Mercedes, and of course, we had Maro and Chocodella, and but this year we need to have a bronze in the car,
right.
so the bronze will come. Yeah, my
Wow.
good friend, also my teammate Kevin C.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Right.
yeah. Kevin C had won so many times in Macau, so he's quite good in with street circuits. But I have to say he's done a fantastic job under the conditions, the weather condition. First time in Bathurst, he was still one of the quickest amps on the grid.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So he's got a bright future with Craft Bamboo.
Well,
The
he's always been with our team
hmm,
throughout the year. He won Asia Le Mans with us in
right.
the CN class in I think it was 15 as well. Yeah. So
The you're based in Hong Kong. Is the
mhm.
team officially now based in Sepang, or are you still in China?
uh, actually we don't have a base in China.
Right.
Our commercial office is in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Daryl is running that office. Daryl O'Young is running that office. Um, and we have a workshop at Sepang,
Hmm.
and we have a workshop at Silverstone.
Oh, right. Okay. I didn't know about the
Yes,
Silverstone one. Right. Of
yes.
course, because you're competing a lot in Europe, and I mean, a lot of the teams that I've been speaking to recently are 100% pure Asian-based teams who have
Mhm.
been hit very hard over the past 2 years with COVID completely
Yeah,
shutting down the Asian
yeah.
industry. But considering you guys are competing in a lot of other international events and
Mhm.
motorsport in Europe and the Americas had opened up, uh, has the COVID lockdown in Asia affected you as bad as some of the other teams and participants who are based in Asia, or have you had that freedom for Europe?
Oh,
Because you did Kyalami 9 hour as well, I think last year, wasn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we did Indy. We went to Kalami, and that was another. That was that was just unbelievable. The whole team arrived with the equipment, with the car, and the next day they decided to cancel
Oh,
because
what?
of the breakout, the COVID
Oh,
breakout,
oh, right,
Omicron.
right. Oh, okay, so the race was cancelled.
The race was canceled, and our crew was stuck there for 1 month
Oh
because
man.
they couldn't get flights out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I think well, actually, they enjoyed a bit. They
Yeah.
found a town right on the beach, and they just hung out there for a couple of weeks until they got flights. Um, yeah, so COVID definitely affected all the teams in Asia because Europe started full swing last year already.
Mm.
Asia, especially China, it stop and go, and you can never plan anything. In motorsport, if you can't plan, you might as well not do it because you ship all your equipment, you have all your crew ready, you arrive, and if it cancel, even though you're not racing, you are already at 80% of the budget.
Wow.
So that really affects everyone. Um, Now, because we are a commercial team, it's funny enough that our Hong Kong office, we have a staff of about 10 or 12. Uh, we have been doing a lot of consultancy in motorsport.
Oh,
Like Motu have been appointed the uh, what do we call it? Like a commercial partner of Motu. We do all of their advertising and promotion for Moto globally.
oh,
Uh,
globally, right.
Globally, yes, globally,
Uh,
because they have supported us with a couple of events before,
yeah.
and they found that our promotion, the sponsorship work uh, was a lot better than they expected from their professional like advertising agency.
Yeah.
So they started, asking us whether we're interested in doing uh, uh, some work, promotion work for them.
Mm.
And they liked it so much because we understand the sport. Obviously, like going to someone who doesn't know about the sport. They know
Sure.
about advertising, but they don't know about the sport, so they never can come up with ideas,
Mm.
right? So now, after a few times, and they're happy with us, and became the global partner.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah,
Okay, I didn't realize your close connection with Motul. I know your
yeah,
the media service of Craft Bamboo, CBR Media.
yeah, yeah,
You have several other clients. I mean, just about an hour ago, I received a press release from one of your clients in the W Series,
yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah,
Court Dow. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. So,
yeah.
and this is, I think this is what separates Craft Bamboo from other teams in Asia,
Mhm.
is that you guys are really putting on a strong focus towards the business aspect of motorsport and providing a service plus a return on investment for your partners. Now, there are a lot of successful teams and professionally run teams based in Asia that have been here for many years, but I always see that they have more of a focus on the racing, and not many teams are, and drivers as well, because it's an area of motorsport that I've been working in for the past 15 years is the strategic partnerships. And I've always felt that a lot of teams and drivers kind of push the business and the return on investment
Mm.
aspect kind of takes a second place to the racing.
Yeah.
But you guys, you've got a phenomenally professional outfit operating, and you can even see on your website and social media the importance you put behind creating these fantastic brand activation
Yeah.
exercises, and also concentrating on giving a return on investment to your partners. Do you think that aspect of motorsport is a 50-50 in relation to the racing as well? Like the business aspect of running the team and providing a return on investment for your partners is just as, if not more important than what you do on the track.
Well, I think personally, I think it's more important, because uh, we want a team that is sustainable. You see a lot of teams in Asia come and go. Uh, Usually, the past 10, 20 years, most of the teams were started by uh, a person who's passionate and have the financial means. But the team will go away when that person lose interest. Now, there could be many reasons why that person will lose interest, because they found something better to do, uh, or they find out how much motorsport really cost, right? Or you spend all this money and you're still not winning. You're nowhere.
Hmm.
So there could be many reasons, but we don't want to be like that. That from day one, I I could be really happy just spending the money racing myself. I don't need to start a team. I don't need to like you have all these headaches. But um, I truly wanted to put Hong Kong on the map when I started the team, and hopefully, we're still learning and we're still improving. Um, but that was the intention. But to get there, I don't want to be the only one carrying that weight on my shoulders. So that's I when we built the team, the commercial element is so important. That's why I said, "Hey, Daryl, let's do this together." And because now we have partners, we have uh, sponsors. The team is not resting on my shoulders only. It's not like, okay, I'm tired, I want to race boats next year, forget about motorsport. Then
Right.
all that effort is gone, right?
Yeah.
The past 18 years, it's gone. I want it to be sustainable. When one day I'm no longer around or I'm doing something else, it's still there.
Mm.
It's like any other company, right? So I don't want to make myself important. So as a
Mm.
matter of fact, in all the press releases, and a lot of people don't even know that I'm the owner of the team.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I mean, the close friends and they might, but yeah. So I want CBR to be CBR, not
Mm.
not Frank Yu's toy.
Right. Right.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah. True. True.
Yeah. And
And
that's how people would treat you professionally.
yeah. Yeah. And you don't want to be one of those teams that go through the same motions at the start of each year about trying to scrape the barrel, trying to get sponsors on board. Your
Yeah.
outfit has multi-year
Yeah.
partnerships that
Yeah.
sees what you said, sustainability.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, the commercial element of the team is one thing. The racing, of course, the technical part is just as important. That's why we always have, find the best crew, and we do win races. Uh, just as recent as Bathurst, that's not an accident. It's well thought out. It's planned. Uh, it's how we dealt with problems. Uh, so any manufacturer will appreciate. From what I heard when the team, when they had time, when they started calling me and said, you know, other Mercedes teams are coming to our pit and asking what we're doing.
Oh.
Yeah. Um,
But
yeah. So
did you share any information easily, or we're the
no, no.
factory team, we're closed door?
Well, because we are the only factory entry.
Mm.
Uh, it's not up to us what the factory will share to other teams. Um, but the strategy, no one knew about our strategy,
Right.
because strategy is not part of, at the end, Stefan Wendell. He
Yeah.
even said, he was like, wow, okay, that's good.
Did you have to, just going back to the business aspect, when COVID came in and shut the Asian industry down, did you have to reevaluate uh, your business model or the package that you had for your sponsors? And have you had to adjust and change, or is it a situation of having to just sit and wait and wait for the next opportunity to come along, which could be another year or two away, right?
Well, with the whole COVID situation, it's always in Asia, it's always been fluid, right? From 2020 when it started,
Yeah,
from when it started. Yeah, it was
yeah,
it was
early 20,
December 19th, yeah,
yeah,
2020.
about March.
No one knew what's going to happen, so everyone sort of held on and waited. Uh, and 2021 the same. Everyone waited, but immediately from 2020 we started planning for something else, because fortunately we are not so much focused on only customer racing.
Mm.
So we go where the factory wants to, Mercedes wants to send us.
Yeah.
And but it became a logistically nightmare because we can't plan for anything, because like shipping has gone through the roof. Uh, Different crew from different countries. We all have different visa requirements. We have different flight requirements.
Right.
So we had to be very flexible. For instance, like Indy, rather than sending our own car out there, we rented a car
Oh.
from an American team. And even with that, it's cheaper than sending our own car because the shipping cost is so ridiculous. A lot of our crew will have to be based in America. So we had to put together 50%
Right.
of the team with local crew, and we have to sort of not train them because they're all very good guys. Uh, Sort of like, just get together and work as a team.
Mm.
And we don't do that on a race weekend, obviously. So we have to arrive a lot earlier. We have to start practicing. We have to start working together, do all the testing and this and that.
Yeah.
And India as well. We were we were second, and hunting down P1
Right.
until there was a small accident that put us out. But that also was a good show. Um, so yeah, COVID does uh, have a great impact in Asia. But like I mentioned before, uh, we instead of laying off our staff, we started creating other jobs, other tasks for them, like doing all the marketing and stuff.
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
And getting other clients on board that are not specifically motor sport related, right?
that's right. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
The American experience, having to rent the car and employ team members that you hadn't worked before, maybe was there some apprehension behind that? Because I mean, the car's completely different to your own baby that's locked up over here.
Mhm.
Uh, did you see it as a big risk, and was it a risk that paid off? And has it opened up your thoughts about participating in America more often now?
Well, um, first we had a very very good uh, partnership with the local team. The car was the car is owned by a gentleman driver. It's very new, so we knew exactly what we were. I mean, the good thing about the GT3 format is every car is built to a certain homologation. Uh, there are no big surprises, right?
Okay.
But when we arrive, of course, we have to start taking the car apart and making sure everything is, you know, uh, to our to our standard, and we apply our knowledge on the car. Uh, and like I said, we have to arrive early so that the team can merge. And but all the management level is still from us. It's
Mm.
just part of the crew is supplied by the local teams, and it was great. It was great. I mean, they are great partners, and I hope that we can do more with them. And definitely, we're looking at India again.
Right. What about the local American GT series? Would you consider participating in those for a full season? Or
Well, we go where our sponsors will take us, right?
yeah,
Uh, we don't want to, you know, consider customer programs yet, because we always want to do a full, like a factory program or a professional program.
right.
Um, and yeah, if there is the opportunity, yes, of course, why not?
Speaking of Hong Kong, you run Gravity Partnership, your architect firm.
Yeah.
This morning I saw the new skyscraper you're working on in Chengdu.
Mm.
Looks amazing. Uh, you're also quite instrumental in drafting the plans to build a new race circuit in Hong Kong. And you did the press conference, and I think it was maybe 3 or 4. Was that 16 or 17? I think, or maybe 2018. How are the plans? How's the progress going for building this new circuit in Hong Kong?
It's not easy. It's not easy because uh, land cost in Hong Kong is just ridiculous.
Mm.
Um, and to build a proper circuit, you need at least 80 hectares of land.
Oh.
And 80 hectares will create a lot of noises in Hong Kong. People will start thinking that, oh, what else can we do with 80 hectare um, uh, worth of real estate? Can we build more housing? Can we build something else that will create jobs and stuff? So it's up to us, the team, um, to educate
Mm.
to educate the government what it means to build a circuit in Hong Kong. It's not only a playground for the elite, but it actually provides jobs, uh, tourist industry. Um, if you hold international races, and and uh, it's still going on. It will be very happy. I will be very happy if there will be a circuit before I turn 80 years old.
Surprised as well.
Yes.
But was there not a piece of land already targeted when you guys made the big announcement? And
Yeah, and it's still the same target because that piece of land is perfect. It's right across from Disneyland, from
oh
Disney.
wow.
That land, it's reclaimed. It cannot build. You cannot have housing over it. There's a because it's on the flight path to the airport.
Oh, right.
There's a certain height restriction as well. So um, it's perfect. It's a bit small, it's a bit undersized, but it's perfect. The location is perfect. It's a bit off the city. It's very close to the airport. There's a lot of hotels around it. It's around an entertainment, like recreation hub, like Disney and
Yeah.
um, yeah. So we're still working on it, but um, with the new government, the new administration, actually tomorrow, uh, I hope that they will listen more. I hope the dialogue will continue.
Mm.
Um, so there are always a team of people, passionate people who wanting this to happen. So whatever I can do, I would do on a heartbeat.
Is it going to be government owned, or are you looking for private investment?
Um, there's no plan, so everything is flexible. The government can supply the land, and I'm sure there will people like jumping into the investment because it's really a no-brainer.
Right.
It'd be
Right.
like building a shopping mall, and then
Yeah.
all your tenant is already signed up for, right?
So the government's controlling the land, and it's up to them to release it or sell it or lease it to whoever is going to take on the project. But first, you've got to convince the government that the circuit is the best option to utilize that land.
Yes, and they have done a study on it. But then it will be like meetings after meetings and after meetings, and then there will be public poll opinions, and you have to prove your own worth, so to speak.
it's hard because this has happened a few times in Singapore and Malaysia. You're it's part of convincing the government or the landowner that a circuit's not going to make tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars every year, but it's still going to be utilized 100% of the year, and it's going to develop the huge community of automotive and motorsport. And I think that's been the issue with Singapore, because I remember since 2007, it's like every 3 to 5 years, the Singapore Sports Council will say, "Oh, we might have a circuit." And I think the last serious bid was around the 2011, 2012 time, where the investment was there. Singapore had the money. I think the land was ready down in Changi, but
Mhm.
then the government and the powers that be have this thing stuck in their head that you touched on earlier, that motorsports, motorsport teams, promoters must be worth millions and millions and millions, and we should be making tens of millions of dollars. But that's not really the case, is it? You're not going to be making huge amounts of money owning and running a circuit.
Well, Hong Kong is quite unique in this sense. I think I'll give you some example. I won't name names, but say a major manufacturer who um, is launching a new product, a new car. They could rent a venue in Hong Kong over a weekend from Friday to Sunday and will pay about 3 million euros for
Wow.
that event
Okay.
to build the kiosks, the track, whatever. Um, Imagine if you had a circuit. In the pit building, you already have the VIP lounges.
Mm.
You already have the pit building. You know, you can have the test drives, right? It will be filled every single weekend.
Yeah.
If not, you can have bicycle races, right? Cycling
Yeah.
events. You can have marathons. You can have a part of a school, a university in engineering, mechanical engineering on
Mm.
site, right? And that's just to name a few. So I think Hong Kong is quite unique in that sense because you can have like motorsport conventions and all this stuff, or even automobile conventions.
Yeah.
Um, and not only for the racing. I think the track days will be booked
Oh yeah.
years in advance.
Yeah.
To be honest,
I mean, well, 100% of all the members of every single supercar club in Hong Kong and southern
yeah,
China, they're all
yes,
for it.
that's right,
But
that's
I
right.
mean, Sepang is fully booked. What, 340 out of 360 days a year?
Yeah,
It would be the same for Hong Kong, I suppose.
can you imagine? Hong Kong is tax free. If you keep a track car, if you keep a track car, or even a road car, if you don't register it for road use, you can keep it in Hong Kong for free, basically.
Oh, right.
You don't have to exit, okay?
Uh-huh.
And if you have a storage area on site, people can just come to Hong Kong and enjoy the rides
Hmm.
365 days a year. So there's a lot of advantages in Hong Kong. Um, so I think um, there is a lot of educating needs to be had,
Hmm.
um, but slowly and slowly, bit by bit, I think we will get there eventually, hopefully.
Is there a team? Is there a consortium of motorsport participants like yourself who are as one entity that are that keep knocking on the door and trying to educate the local government and and try and push this forward, or is it at the moment all spread around and whatever happens happens?
There's been a couple of entities who's been quite active, um, and but as far as a very, very focused group, like I want a circuit group,
Yeah.
does not exist. But I think it should. We should put everyone together and but a professional team in different areas, like accounting, planning, construction, motorsport promotion in automotive. It
Yeah.
really can represent this project to be on board.
Yeah, it's more than just having the community sign petitions and
Yeah,
say yes, we want this, right? There's got to be. I suppose the government actually has to see the tangible support there. I mean,
yeah,
what if there was? I mean, you're you're one of the most connected men in Asian motorsport. What about getting all the race promoters together and the team owners and all the VIPs together to show the government that, look, Asian motorsport is strong, and it could be so much beneficial to not only Hong Kong but the industry around the whole region as a whole.
Well, Hong Kong is quite behind in this sense because you look at you look at uh, um, Singapore, our neighboring countries, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia. Forget about Japan. Japan is way ahead.
Yeah.
China, Indonesia just now, they all have their own circuits.
Yeah.
And Hong Kong, to claim that they are international city, is not international at all in this sense.
Right. Right.
So I think it's time to have a discussion. At least don't reject the idea. If you will just listen, and then we can try to work things together, maybe maybe something good will come out of this. And you mentioned that get people in motorsport together. I think this is what the government don't want to hear. It's building a circuit this size. It's for a focused group of people, right? I heard in one of the meetings that why are we building a circuit? It's just catering for these elite rich people to have another playground, and it's quite simple. I told them, look, if you do some research, how much money people spend in motorsport, and if you think that the quote unquote the rich people are limited to where they are, you're very wrong. As a matter of fact, if you don't have the venue for them, they will just spend the money elsewhere, right?
Right.
You don't have a racetrack in Hong Kong, all right, I'll go racing in Japan. I'll keep my cars in Japan, keep my teams in Japan, and I'll just do the racing there. So actually you're losing their money. But if you have a venue here, they will spend the money here instead.
Yeah.
So there's no limit to what the people they want. You have money, you have choice, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to do it in Hong Kong if you don't have it. I'll do it in Japan, I'll do it in Europe, I'll fly to Europe. So yeah.
I mean, like you said, the circuit is a multifunctional venue, and it doesn't have to be purely something with an engine. I mean, it could
Correct.
be anything. I mean, there could be a
Correct.
multi-sports venue there that caters to swimming and track and field as well.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Exactly.
The staying on circuits, because I want to move into some of the issues that you think are present in Asian motorsport. The fact that Hong Kong doesn't have a circuit, that's one issue. Coming down further south towards Malaysia and Singapore, well, Singapore don't have a circuit, so they have to come to Sepang. The fact that Malaysia only has one circuit and Sepang has a monopoly on that, do you think there is a lack of circuits? And do you think that because some countries only have one major Class A, Class 1 or Class 2 circuit, that is being detrimental to the development of the Asian motorsport industry?
Well, I don't think it's detrimental. Well, speaking of Singapore, I think the Singapore Grand Prix is one of the best on the calendar.
Definitely.
I've been there, watched it, and raced on this in the supporting race for many years. The atmosphere is just unbelievable. But it's a street circuit, so I think as far as the sport is concerned, it's raised a certain awareness. But the location of Singapore is so close to Malaysia, especially when you just cross the border, you can get to Johor, you can get to Sepang within an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then of course to Thailand and all the countries around Singapore. It's not that bad. But for Hong Kong, the closest circuit to Hong Kong is Zhuhai. Zhuhai is quite run down these days. And you really don't have anything, especially if you call yourself an international city.
Yeah.
It's like having a football stadium. It's for the sport. You have many football stadiums. Why don't you have something for motorsport? Yeah, it's really like I said, it's an uphill battle.
Yeah. I mean, we know that COVID put a complete shutdown to the Asian motorsport industry for the past 2 years, 2.5 years, and it's only been in the last 3 or so months that it's getting back up and running. Do you think that COVID has had a long-term negative effect to the industry, and that the industry has, like, I spoke to David Sonincha last week, and yesterday I had Bill O'Brien and other prominent Asian motorsport participants have been talking about how a number of teams are no longer around anymore. Well, they're not operating, but they could come back because COVID. We either had to shut our businesses down and focus on something online or whatever. Do you think that the Asian motorsport industry is going to be a very difficult industry to bring back to life? Do you think I don't want to say dead, but I will. And can there be life breathed into the industry again anytime soon?
I think so, because the people who's been around will always be around. Uh, we're still around. We're not going anywhere. KCMG is still around. They're not going anywhere.
No.
Absolute is around. They're not going anywhere. So some of these outfits that really had been making some contribution to the sport will always be around. Now, like we talked about before, some teams might have started. Those might go away. if the owner decides to, okay, there's nothing, nothing's happening the past 2 years, let's do something else, and those might go away, those might lose interest. So some of our our teams, the ones that we mentioned, we're tied to a manufacturer, like which we're here to stay, basically.
In terms of craft bamboo and major events, I for some reason the Sepang 12 hour just came to my mind. I mean, when we had the Sepang 12 hour and the MME, and there used to be grids of 40 to 60 cars, and then over the past several years, the Sepang 12 hours kind of fleeted off. As craft bamboo racing, are you focusing on the European opportunities and the big 12-hour and 9-hour events because there's nothing like that in Asia besides the Dubai 24-hour? All these kind of localized major events have disappeared, and I mean, would craft bamboo still be focusing 100% on Asia if these big events were here, or you're forced to travel around Europe and participate in these other international events?
Yeah, well, we're not. We do a lot of races in Asia, but we're not solely focused on Asia. We will always do the international events. I love doing the Sepang 12 hours, the NME. I've done it so many times. I think if it comes back, I'll definitely do it. Now, I think the problem with that is, if you can remember, I'm sure you remember, when MME started, it was sort of like a festival.
Yes.
Right? Everyone is included. You have the, I think at the beginning, you didn't even have the GT3 cars. You had modified GT cars, and then you have the touring cars, and you even have the, I think it's the 1.4 liters.
Yeah. And it was the Asia Festival of Speed, right? It was.
Yeah.
Festival of Speed.
And that was fun. That was fun. Now, eventually, it became a professional race, right?
Yeah.
And that's when it took the interest out of the locals, the grassroots, because I can never compete because the factory teams are here. I'm spending, good dollars of my own, and then the factory comes in, and then I'll never be there anyway. And then later on, they started taking out some of the lower classes. It made the race not interesting for most of the people that had been doing it
Right
for years. Funny enough, I had a conversation. I was in Thailand a month and a half ago, and I was having a conversation with Prida and Kun Sontaya.
Yeah.
I said, look, why don't you guys do a 12-hour race, right? The Thai Super Series. Don't make it professional. It has to be for AMs. You have GT3 class, you have touring car, GT4, whatever, but you make it fun.
Yeah.
Do it around the time when it's, Thailand is a bit cool, like February, March, somewhere around that time, and make it fun.
Yeah.
And I think they're quite receptive with that idea. And I told them, I said, look, if you have that race, I'm going to lose some weight and get back into my race suit, and then I'll do it myself.
Are Asian teams ready and capable of doing a 24-hour? Because that was something that I would always say, look, why don't we make it the Sepang 12-hour? And everyone I spoke to was, we don't have the resources or the expertise to do a 24-hour race, or the teams don't.
If you can do a 12-hour, you can do a 24-hour.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Actually, if you can do one pit stop, you can do 12,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, true.
And you can do 24 pit stops. Uh, I think a lot of the teams, like with the MSS teams when they do sprint races, it's correct. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the knowledge of pit stops and how to build an endurance car and with that kind of knowledge, yes.
Mm.
But it can be helped by joining other teams who's got the experience and let them run alongside you. They might have the equipment. Um, that's how most people started,
Yeah, true.
right? I
It,
mean, what's the difference if you do a 6-hour race? Nothing. You just
yeah.
keep doing it. You keep going, right?
I think one of the big mentalities down here in Southeast Asia is more along the lines of it needs to be built, then they will come. There's a
Yeah,
lot of talk here. There's a lot of talk down here, but if there's not a group, if there's no one to actually get it done, okay, we're going to have a Sepang 24-hour. This is the date. These are the regulations. We're open for
yeah.
entry. Then maybe it'll happen.
Mm.
As you know, there's lots of talking in Asian motorsport.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you think there's as someone who runs a team, are there any main issues that you see within besides the COVID lockdown and race series and racing teams having to close down? Do you see has there been any other issues that have been niggling you as both a driver and a team owner over the past several years with Asian motorsport that you see needs to be fixed in order for the industry to grow?
Um, there's always room for improvements, right? I'll
You
set one.
don't have to be diplomatic as well.
I, I won't. I won't. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a parallel example. All right. One year in Macau, if you can remember how Daryl um, uh, was it that race?
You had the VLT car.
No, it was the year when he got a penalty in Macau.
Right.
Now, being a professional team, okay, it wasn't the World Cup.
Okay.
It was the COVID year. It was the COVID year, uh, and there was a regulation. They specified the kind of tires that you are allowed to use in that race.
Right.
Okay, but did not specify the brand. Okay,
Okay.
and being a professional team, the very first thing we do, is where we fine comb the regulations, and that's exactly what we did at Bathurst as well,
Right.
to come up with that strategy.
Yeah.
Okay, because under green you can join the safety car, join the back of the queue, so we don't lose a lap when we pit.
Right.
So tires in Macau is very important. So after we got the regulations, I called up the tire manufacturer, or our team called the tire manufacturer and asked them whether they have this compound, because the compound is free. The regulation says what size of tires you need, and I believe also what brand. Okay,
Right.
so the local office said, "Oh, we don't have that size. We don't have that tire. We don't have that compound." So I said, "Fine." So we called up Europe, and Europe said, "Oh, We do. We have how many sets? I said, fine, great. Can you get it over to Asia for us? I said, yes, but we have to fly them. Okay, fly them. So we got the better tires, and the entire grid complained
Oh,
that we had special tires.
wow.
There were rumors that these are confidential tires. We don't know how we're cheating and this and that. And I believe Darrow was put to the back of the grid for some other quote unquote infringement.
Mm.
And then I think he finished at the end. He caught up and he finished second.
Right.
Right.
Um,
Now, this is where Asian motorsport is so fucked. Rather than learning from someone who's made the effort, they gang up together to bully the student who is really top of class.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because if you ask my team, whenever we lose a race, I will not ask the first thing I ask the team is, what did we do wrong and how can we improve?
Right.
What did others do that we didn't? Right? And that's
Yeah.
how you improve.
Yeah.
But rather than doing that, it's like I made a joke that weekend. It's like your school tells you tomorrow's lunch you can only get you can only have Big Mac
Right.
from a McDonald's. So the whole class go to McDonald's and it's sold out. They can only get a cheeseburger. But I walked across the street or to the next town to get the Big Mac from another McDonald's. I come back to class and everyone is pointing fingers at you.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
why do you have a Big Mac? Right?
Yeah.
Now, okay, having said that, in Australia, where it's more international, everyone came and just congratulated us. And it's like, wow, what great strategy. You guys really put the effort. Unbelievable. And, you see the difference.
Yeah. True. Yeah.
So it's the mentality that needs to change.
Yeah, and that starts at a local level because it's not just the GT racing. It's from everything from karting, kids
Yeah.
karting, up through the single formula. Yeah, and a few other local race promoters have told me that plenty of other times as well, is that they're sick and tired of having to deal with the backstabbing and the politics of the
Yeah.
local participants instead of, hey,
Yes,
we've got a circuit, we're racing this weekend,
that's
get
right.
out and prove it on the circuit,
That's right.
try and take the checkered flag instead of, trying to do all these
Yeah.
fighting in the office, right?
Yeah. Work harder, right?
Mm,
The tires we got in Macau were off the shelf tires. Anyone can buy them with money.
yeah.
Anyone can buy them.
It's their fault that they didn't go through the regulations
Yes.
with the fine tooth comb,
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah.
actually, some teams did try. They just couldn't locate them.
Right.
So
Because you guys hid them. You guys had someone hiding it from everyone else.
so it's really funny.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a difference between. This is a good point, actually. There's a difference between playing professional mind games, driver on driver mind games to make your opponents kind of a little bit weaker in the cockpit, and then team strategy, mind games to win on the track. That's one thing, and that's fine. That's what racing's all about, right? You've got to stretch whatever strategy and regulations as far as possible to gain a tiny advantage over your competitors.
Yes.
But now that you mention it, the other aspect is that, yeah, there is too much politics and fighting, because it's
Yeah.
not mind games, it's fighting in the pit
Yeah.
garages. And yeah, I've heard that, yeah, even in Malaysia, the local series in Malaysia, there's fighting about certain nuts and bolts or
Mm,
brake pads or something like that, just to get it. So I understand the mentality there. Um,
mm,
do- I had Bill O'Brien on yesterday, and he made a good point in regards to developing the Asia motorsport industry further. But I think his point was more concerned with single-seater formula racing and building a ladder for the kids to make a career. He said that the lack of participation from the FIA has been somewhat detrimental to the Asian motorsport industry. And he believes that the FIA needs to get more involved and realize the huge potential that Asia has to have a major motorsport industry. Do you have any thoughts on that and the FIA's participation? Because the way I see it is that there's there used to be three major or four major motorsport hubs. America's massive, UK's massive, and Europe's massive. And from 2006 up until today, Asia's been growing into something that could match those other three industries, but we
mm.
keep hitting a plateau. Should
Yeah.
the FIA be getting more involved in helping to develop Asia?
Well, getting involved definitely um, won't be bad. But I think it's the fundamental from Asia. We need to work out certain issues on our own first, right? If we want to grow in motorsport, um, I think it's unfair to use the term Asia because in Japan, it's very organized. Um, Even with COVID, with Super GT and Super Target, all these championships, they're still going on. It's
Right.
very extremely professional. You can compare Super GT to DTM. You can, you know, uh,
Mm,
it's very well organized, so it's already there.
yeah. But
Now,
they're a completely own different universe anyway, right?
exactly, exactly. But if you want other regions, I mean, in other countries in the region to get to that level, I think locally, in Malaysia, in China, in forget about Hong Kong because Hong Kong doesn't have a circuit.
Mm,
um, Thailand, they're getting there. And look at Thailand. Look
yeah.
at how much it's improved
That's
just in a
exploding.
short period of time because they are very well organized, right? So I think you have to give it a bit of time. Don't come in at a time when they're still trying to figure things out, right? Let the countries, let the people figure things out first. Let them reach a certain point before you come in and make it better.
Yeah.
Not to take it apart when they're still trying to build. So um, I think yes, if I can help, but I don't know how. I think um, like Asia Le Mans. Asia Le Mans is a very good platform as well. Uh, they're already doing that. SRO is doing a very very good job in GT racing.
Yeah.
Um, and Formula I cannot comment because I'm not, not I don't I don't really follow. Um, but I think let each country get to a certain point first. Let
Mm.
them build it to a certain point before you come in and make it better. Um, I don't know when, but it's. I think we will get there.
Yeah, true. True. No, you're right. Because Thailand is absolutely booming. I'm sure you'd love to be in Bangsian this weekend as
Oh,
well.
yes.
You
Yes.
can't escape Hong
Yes.
Kong.
Yes.
Yeah, you're true. You're right. Just a couple of more points before we finish up.
Mm.
With Craft Bamboo, I mean, you do a fantastic job providing marketing services and media services, and you're competing in the major professional endurance races and GT events around the world. I've never seen. Well, I'll ask you: has driver development and having a driver development program, has that ever been on the cards for Craft Bamboo? Is that another service or route that you guys would consider going down to develop
Um,
young talent and bring them through to a career in GT racing?
well, we internally, our team always had the discussion. We started a few years ago, but to provide a total platform, if you will, uh, it's a lot of effort. Like, starting from formula, and then to a different path, maybe to prototypes. We had prototypes before,
Yeah.
um, and then GT. They're two separate paths. It's really a lot of effort. It's not that we don't want to do it, but right now we want to focus on um, something else. We're working on something else.
Ah,
We're building on something else. Yeah, and we don't want to do a million things in the same time. We want to focus on one thing and do it really well. I think there is a lot of teams in Asia already, like Bill's team, Black Art. They can develop younger drivers, and maybe something in the future where we can work together and provide the next platform or whatever it is.
hmm,
Um, so the market is big enough for everyone, right? The pie is big enough, so we
yeah.
don't want to. Yeah,
What about Formula racing? Has Craft Bamboo considered going into that, like a Formula 3 series?
we might still. Uh, Give us some time.
What's this exclusive that you're about to give me about a future development with Craft Bamboo?
Well, we've always well, it was my dream to go back to WEC.
Right.
Uh, that's what we're building
Okay.
now.
And just to close up, what is in store for the rest of the year for Craft and 23 and beyond? Um, are you still going to compete in the SRO GT World Challenge Asia? And what's the outlook for the rest of the year for Craft Bamboo?
Okay, in Asia, we're still looking at the travel restrictions with COVID. So we don't know yet. We are looking at Indy. We were supposed to be doing Spa,
Right. Ah,
but our cars just won't get there from Australia. So it was painful, but we had to pull the plug.
oh, bummer.
Um, yeah. Uh, Macau, yes, we're waiting for the announcement. If it goes on, we will always be at Macau. We will always support, the Macau Grand Prix.
Mhm.
And for myself, I haven't raced for 2 years, and I'm just, it's painful. So I want to go back to Dubai 24 with my mates, Jonathan Hui, Kevin C, and Tara Zhao. Um, I want to do some races with my buddy Jean-Marc Merlin.
Right.
Um, so we'll see. I think the borders are opening, so we will start planning quite soon.
All right. Well, hopefully the borders do open for Hong Kong because there's not just yourself, but a bunch of other big motorsport teams and personnel that we need to see getting out here and
Yeah.
rocking and rolling down towards Sepang and
Yes.
Thailand.
Yes, yes.
But I know you've got to go, Frank. There's plenty more
Yeah,
that we can talk about, and
sure.
during the course of the year, I'll keep in touch and we'll have you on. But
Great.
good luck for the rest of the year with Craft Bamboo. It's always exciting to see the developments and the brand activation you guys are doing with your partners.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll speak to you next time, and hopefully
All right.
see you at Sepang again.
All right. Thanks for having me, Ben. I
All
hope
right,
to see you soon.
great. Thanks,
All
Frank.
right. Thank you.
Hello, motorsport fans. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on your notifications, and like this video so we can keep the channel going.